Hi, I'm Brad Teare, and today I want to finish up this painting, The Road to Eden. By and large, it looks pretty good, but there's some problem areas, primarily along the horizon line here. If you can see, there's kind of a line that goes along there. When I shifted between these two colors here, this went a little darker than I thought. So I want to mix up some medium with some zinc white and some blue, and that's called a scumble. And a scumble is an opaque application that you smear on so thinly that it becomes translucent. And I also want to scumble in a little bit of purple down here to make this yellow really pop. Now I could glaze some yellow into here, but I find that that can cause a little bit of over-ripeness, over-richness, and I don't want to get that oversaturated, so I would prefer to put in a little bit of very low-value purple into this area here. It reads almost as a black from a distance anyway. You get up close and you can see there's a lot of greens and purples in there, but if I push that a little bit lighter value, a little bit more purple, that'll make that yellow really pop there. Over in the corner here, I think I might put just a shade, a very slight glaze of blue right here. And the reason for that is this seems a little flat. If I make this a little bit blue, as it graduates down into this corner, it will go into space just a little bit better. And the tops of these trees here are a little bit too light, so what I want to do is I'll probably glaze in some darker green, and then if I have to, I'll use that as a couche, which is French for coat. It's essentially oiling up the canvas, and then I'll paint into that couche, and just as if, I'm painting with opaque paint, and try to build up that texture possibly just a little bit more, and make that value difference between the distance here a little bit more pronounced. Now there's some hot spots here too that I think I'll just very slightly scumble those down with a little bit of blue and white. They're just a little hot, and maybe I'll take a look after I get all those adjustments made. I'll take a look at my blues, and possibly I might glaze a few of these blues down just a little bit. Okay, I'm oiling this up with a little bit of Utrecht Flex Gel, which is a real nice medium. It's very stiff and it's great to paint into. And I'm going to lower the value with just a little bit of sap green. It's a little too saturated, so I need to drop that down a little bit. We can add a little bit of phthalo green yellow. That'll lower it down, and then add just a little bit of Mars violet to it. This started to get too saturated, so I'm going to put a little bit of Portland gray medium in it, and this is like adding a zinc white into a glaze. It will just mellow that out a little bit and pull the chroma down a bit. I frequently get the chroma or the saturation too rich when I'm glazing. I'm not sure why that is, but the little gray with sap green is really pretty, and that's pulling that value down about right. Now I'm going to step back for a minute. It's too green, so I'm going to pull off some of that. Okay, I like the richness of it, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pull up some of the richness elsewhere and thereby balance that out. So I'm going to bring up that chroma a little bit. Now chroma and saturation are essentially the same thing, so now if I need to pull off more, I can dip it in some mineral spirits, which I use Gamsol down here. Pull that off a little bit more. I'm oiling up again with a little bit of flex gel. Okay, that is purple, but it's a little too dark, so add just a little bit of white to it. Bring that up just a hair. I'm adding a little bit of green into the purple just to neutralize it a little bit and bring down the value. The hair, I'm getting a little bit too light. I stepped back and I actually found that it was fine. So you really do need to get some perspective on your value modulations, so that you don't go back to black again. You don't want, that's no good. Now, one thing I would like to explain is that, I put a coat of the flex gel on this part right here, oiling up this part of the canvas. So when I put the paint into it, I can paint opaque if I want. I'll lay the brush down flat and it'll pull that paint off and it'll go on opaque. I can rub it in a little bit and it'll be a sort of a scumble if it's somewhat opaque paint. Or I can just lay in some transparent color and that'd be a glaze. I think it's wrong to think about, like I'm going to glaze right here, so I glaze a little area, and then I'm going to scumble in here. You want your glazes and your scumbles and your dry brush, you want it to all mix in and be one fluid, application of paint. So actually when you're glazing and scumbling and adding dry brush, I don't really think about it except what the paint looks like. So I almost instinctively pull my brush at different angles to get different amounts of paint off. This would be like if you want to just flatten out a glaze, and so it's much more fluid, much more organic than some people might think.